And we are live. Hello, everyone. What's going on? Max with BuzzTox here. I am back with our first live stream for House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 1. Before we get started in our chat, I just want to do some housekeeping in terms of the channel. So there's some things that I need to... This just got renewed for a new season. We're going to be covering House of the Dragon for a while, and I'm trying to find kind of my formula on how I want to cover it. Mainly because this is actually very different than Game of Thrones. Because Game of Thrones, we had a book series that was 5 books long by George R. R. Martin, and then the show exceeded the books. So we had this magical period where... You know, the last 3 seasons of Game of Thrones were all theory-based. There was no legitimate spoilers. And that's something I want to deal with here is because the House of the Dragon story is out there, or the history of it. This is obviously going to be a rendition of it. It's not going to exactly copy what happened in the story of the Dance of Dragons. But we do know where it ends up, what characters end up where, and with that comes a lot of spoilers. So, I realized with my my first review I put up, I didn't even think about it. I just, I talked about what I knew and yada yada yada, but then I didn't even think that there is a huge community out there who is enjoying the show, who doesn't want to know what's going on, and they want to theorize and speculate and still have the conversation without those definitive spoilers. So I think there's a very delicate way that I can handle that. I think the review that I'm going to drop today, it is going to be non-spoiler initially, maybe introduce spoilers at the end of the video. My breakdowns, I think I might do the same thing, add spoilers at the end of the video. In terms of the live stream, it's difficult because if I say I don't want to have spoilers in the chat, like obviously people are going to spoil it. So like there's no safe space in regards to having a live stream. So, and I'm afraid that I'm live. I might drop random spoilers and ruin it for other people. So I want to say off the top of my head right now, the live streams should be spoiler filled. Just because I don't want anybody coming into this and getting spoiled, and I said it was non-spoiler, and someone got spoiled in the chat, or I said something I shouldn't have. So I want to preface this live stream with, we're probably going to have a deep discussion on some potential or some guaranteed spoilers that will happen. And then as the weeks go on, maybe I'll evolve and I'll change my mind, and we'll kind of see what happens. But I'm going to start making content that is both for like the non-spoiler crowd and for the spoiler crowd. But with that being said, before we get into the chat, there's a couple things I just initially want to say about this episode. Look at it. Hello. It was amazing. It caught me so off guard. Just in terms of like the quality, I saw people complaining about the CGI or like yada yada yada. I don't have a complaint. Comparing this to the first episode of season 1 of Game of Thrones, like I'm not going to complain about the CGI. I think it looks great. In terms of how they handled the characters, every character I love. I think they did a great job at showing their personalities and showing their potential underlying motives as the show goes on. So an example, so I did say that there are going to be some spoilers for probably this season and next season, so I'm just going to say that. But Corlys Velaryon, for example, him and his wife, the queen that never was, they have a very interesting dynamic. They're very serious. They take their roles very seriously. Like Corlys Velaryon worrying about the pirates, him keep putting his hand on his drink. He's a man of duty. You see him agree with Daemon Targaryen's handling of the Gold Cloaks or the City Watch. You see Otto Hightower vehemently against Daemon Targaryen, which is interesting because in terms of the Dance of Dragons, it's a civil war. and these people who are we're already seeing glimpses of, who sides with who is frustrated by who. Otto Hightower clearly doesn't like Daemon Targaryen. And you see, and Daemon doesn't like Otto. And Daemon said, in this episode as well, he doesn't trust Otto. And Otto is going to basically take advantage of the king any chance he can get. And you can see that in this episode, Otto Hightower kind of is taking advantage of the king, emotionally, sending his daughter, Alicent Hightower, in to go visit King Viserys. And even that scene was great because Alicent Hightower, she's not stupid. She knew why she was being sent there. She had to wear her mother's dress, all that stuff, whatever. So that part of the episode is great. Another thing, too, that I really liked, and it's going to sound weird to say, but, like, that scene, the emergency C-section, I think there are certain scenes where it's important to, like, stay on the situation and almost show the brutality of it, because there's a realism there, and that's where you get emotion and character, and that's where you get I just feel like that scene in particular was very hard to watch, but it was very powerful, and I like that they did that. It was very intense, but it's that intensity that makes it so vital and important, and it was a very vital part of the story because King Viserys lost his son, right? So now, the king is in a place where he had to choose between his brother and his daughter, and he chose Princess Renera. And we'll see how that plot develops. Before I get into the chat, one thing I do want to say is I didn't do a breakdown video this week. I will next week. But I did like a 2-minute clip kind of saying why Jon Snow was supposed to kill the Night King. And it had scenes of Jon Snow juxtaposed onto King Viserys' speech to his daughter Renera. And I think the end of the episode was so crucial because I actually think we got an additional tidbit or more lore to this story than I was expecting. It was a cool way to connect it to the Game of Thrones story in the sense that he said that there's a secret in House Targaryen, every Targaryen that sits the throne, where Aegon Targaryen didn't go on his conquest to conquer the 7 kingdoms. He didn't just do that because it was land that was ripe for the taking. He did it because he had a dream, and that dream was cold winds were coming, and death marches on them all, and only a Targaryen seated on the throne will be able to stop it. And he basically tells Renera, promise me you will keep this secret. Promise me you will do your duty. Yada, yada. And I think that is such a powerful, like in terms of storytelling, like that is such a powerful thing. And it makes me sad because even like Dan and Dave, the producers of Game of Thrones, they said that everyone expected Jon Snow to kill the Night King and they thought it didn't feel right. So what did they do? They chose Arya. And that was the producers of the show's decision. That was not George R. R. Martin's decision. So my intention with that clip was to show you that in terms of writing, Jon will kill the Night King. Like, he will. I know he will. George R. R. Martin will write Jon Snow to kill the Night King. I don't think Jon's going to be king. I think Jon is going to be sent away to the Night's Watch. I think Bran will be king. So I think everyone will end up in the same spot. And that's what's so crazy about it, is it was so perfectly set up that is the arc of Jon Snow, right? Where, like, King Viserys, so there's that term, power resides where power believe it resides, right? So if you wear a crown, it doesn't make you king, or it doesn't make you the one in charge. The one that makes you in charge is the one who has people putting power in the individual, right? So that's what I love about Jon Snow as the Targaryen story. Not only does it start off with Aegon the Conqueror, Aegon the First, And then you have the last Aegon Targaryen, which is Jon Snow, and he is essentially the liberator. It is the complete opposite. It is ice and fire, right? So you have Aegon the Conqueror, and then his last of kin, Aegon the Fifth or Aegon the Sixth, whatever Jon Snow is. He is Aegon the Liberator, who liberates and saves the world from the dead, right? And he gets sent away to the wall for it, because that's the perfect idea of who Jon Snow was. I'm obsessed with Jon Snow. I don't know if you can tell. But he is ice and fire, right? He is Stark. He is Targaryen. And it's only natural for him to rid the world of both threats, right? So Daenerys is pure fire. He kills Daenerys because she politically gets too intense. So he rids the world of fire, and then he kills the Night King. He rids the world of ice. He is ice and fire. He creates balance, and then he's sent away to the wall for it. It's not about him being king or leading the world to a better place. It's about him doing his duty that was set in stone since the beginning to bring an ultimate balance to the world. So that's honestly how I think the show will go. Or not the show. That's how I think the books will go. I think Jon Snow will kill both Daenerys and the Night King. And just seeing that speech with Renera, to me, it just made it so clear. And I think Miguel Sapochnik, who produced and directed, there was a part of him that was nudging audiences, because King Viserys said, "Promise me, Renera, promise me." And it goes in perfect harmony with Lyanna talking to Ned. "Promise me, Ned, promise." So I just thought it was a really cool connection. And I think this show really makes you rethink the last, in Game of Thrones, right? Because Game of Thrones 2 was a Targaryen story. You had a Targaryen princess who was exiled from her home, and then you had a Targaryen bastard, right? And it was about the show of them two coming into their own. So, I'm really enjoying this show because it also gives me an appreciation and excitement for the old series. I thought that was really cool. I don't know what they're going to do if George R. R. Martin actually writes this and Jon kills the Night King, because I think that was pretty... They ended this show pretty bad. So, I don't know. But let's look in the chat. We have Randy here. Hello. We have Programmer of Video Games. What's up, buddy? We have Margie. What's going on? Who else do we have? We have Mo. We have Miss T. What's going on? So we have, that's going to be something too. So I know with Westworld, it took some time to build up the stream. Plus it's the day too, like it is Sunday. So I don't know if we should move this to a Thursday. We'll figure it out. I'll talk as long as I can, but I expect more people will come as the weeks go on. Programmer says, I admit it, the series is better than Game of Thrones. Hope it fixes all the GOT mistakes. Well, the problem is like, this show is going to be amazing. And I know it's going to finish in an amazing manner, because like they already have the ending. The thing with Game of Thrones is there's nothing that they can fix, right? Game of Thrones was the ending of the Night King, of the dead, right? So it's a very important story. Game of Thrones is the most important story. And they chose to end it the way they did. I think HBO, I don't think it'll ever happen, but I think they could make a killing if they invested in redoing just season 8. Just season 8, and all you have to do is tweak some stuff, or redo season 7 and 8. It's a great marketing push. They'll be able to make money off of it, so it's not a waste. Because it's to the point where it's like, if Game of Thrones ended properly, it would even bolster this show up and make this show seem better. So, because this is all about Targaryens, right? And at the end of the day, Game of Thrones, as I said, it is a Targaryen story. It is Jon and Daenerys' story. So I think it would do really well to end that properly. Mo says, I was happy the baby died. Jesus. Because what Viserys did to that wife, am I a bad guy? I don't know. Hopefully no real babies were harmed during the making of the show. That's something that I think everyone was confused because they didn't explicitly say that the child died. They only said the baby died during the burial or during the grave or whatever. But in terms of like the pregnancy scene, yeah, that was pretty messed up. But when I first watched it, I was like, Jesus, like they couldn't have done anything different to make her not suffer the way that they did. But I think they kind of mitigated that, saying that they couldn't give her any more milk of the poppy without risking the baby. So there's a part of me that's like, the king literally had to make a choice to save his child or not. Like either way, the wife was gonna die. So that's the way I saw it. Miss T says, how many seasons do you think they will need to tell this story truly well? It's hard because I'm trying to think of the whole story. Like 5 comes to my head, but I don't know if that's right. But I think, yeah, 5 seasons could probably tell it. Give them just enough time to prepare another spinoff. I would love HBO to redo season 7 and 8. I would love them to. It would be such a waste if they didn't. Man, it'd be awesome. Programmer says the Arya thing was the dumbest decision ever. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. They literally did it just for the surprise of it, not because they were setting it up for seasons on seasons. And that's like, it's just crazy to me because that was such a monumental decision, and that monumental decision literally affects every single story. Like it affects everything in here in House of the Dragon. Like it affects everything. So yeah. Programmer said the ending of season 8 would have preferred if Jon killed the Night King and Bran became the next one because of the mark. Yeah, that would have been cool. But I'm even cool with I'm just happy with, if A Song of Ice and Fire is about defeating the Night King, then great, defeat the Night King, and sure, have Bran sit on the throne. That's fine. I just think. And Jon should have been sent away. And I think Daenerys should have died. I expected her to die anyway because she became a tyrant, right? She became a Targaryen. And I just love that idea of Jon being a character that rid the world of both extremes. And he doesn't get anything for it, right? He doesn't become king. He doesn't, live the life he wants to lead. He did what he had to do and he was sent away, right? So, yeah. Mo says, will Daemon be like Jaime Lannister? Move from disgusting character in season 1 to lovable one in the end. At least they will do this with one character. I think Daemon, is going to feel a little different. Jaime, they made him like a pompous ass. In the beginning. Like everything he did was terrible. Daemon, they've already given him something to cling on to liking him. Like he does things that aren't great, but he also he cares about Renera and so I think he'll be, Jaime was very extreme. Like he was bad and they took a while to make him good. I think Daemon will always kind of ride that fine line. Miss T says the proficiency was passed down incorrectly. I'm not sure what you mean, but sure. Programmer says, honest opinion, if Game of Thrones had been written better, I'd want a storyline for Reek, Theon, and the parallels to that of Varys. Yeah, I think in the show too, if I rewrote Game of Thrones, I would have Varys trying to put power under Jon Snow and colluding against Daenerys. And the way that they handled Reek too, it was the thing with Reek that bugged me was they had him like tortured and like he became a eunuch and all that stuff. And like he learned pain. So it's like in that last scene where Reek was fighting, or Theon was fighting the dude to take claim over his fleet, what had him beat him was him getting punched in the nuts. And it's like that's such a superficial, like comedic way to handle it. Like it's not the fact that he had his dick cut off. It's the fact that he's resilient to pain because he's been through all of it, you know? So it's like I don't like that they made that the joke. So that felt a bit strange. Yeah, I don't know. Chaz says, never let the Grand Maester hold a baby. My takeaway from episode 1. Yeah, hey, the Maester was the last one to hold the baby. And they never, that's the thing, they never explicitly told us it died. So I guess the baby died later. Yeah, I don't know. Miss T says, what would be the best dragon in the show? Right now we only know 2 of them. We know Cyrax and Carathesses, or I don't know how I remember this. I think but then what's the best dragon? Is it the biggest dragon, or is it the dragon that you have the most emotional attachment to? I think Cyrax will be people's favorite just because it's Renera's dragon. So, like, they're probably going to share a lot of screen time, and, like, people are going to build an emotional attachment to that dragon. And then, yeah, I guess the next one would be Caraxes or whatever. Because it's not the dragon that's cool, it's the fact that it's emotionally attached to these characters, and that's what people will like about them, right? That's why people like Ghost so much, even though he was barely in it, right? He was Jon Snow's wolf. Miss T says, is the power in the dagger also, since they keep showing it? Yeah, that I was interested in. Like, yeah, they zoomed in on the dagger, and like I should have looked into it, but I didn't. It looked a lot like the Valyrian dagger that Littlefinger had. But I'm not 100% sure. I should know that, but I don't. Programmer says, Jaime Lannister storyline was the biggest disappointment of season 8. And I don't even remember what happened to Jaime Lannister. I guess he died. I don't completely remember. Yeah. But I'm like, all in all with this show though, like I know it's going to be big because, like, without spoiling anything, like the politics of this show, people are going to be really into it. Like it's a genuine good story. Like it is a great story. The Civil War between House Targaryen, right? And there's a lot of cool spectacle moments that like a lot of people are gonna cling on to. So I think all in all, like it is going to be a fantastic show. The only thing, the only thing with this show that I don't know is like season 1, for example. I have an idea, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure how they're going to end it. I don't know what the ending scene is going to be, of this show. I have my hunch. I don't want to spoil it. But if it's the ending, I think like it is a huge end to a first season. Like it's going to be huge. People are going to be really into it. So yeah, it's exciting. But yeah. But let me know if you guys have any more questions. Oh, inappropriate scene. I gotta watch when I'm streaming Game of Thrones what's showing in the bottom. Yeah, who else is in the chat? Yeah, so this is interesting. It's so funny too, because I remember when Game of Thrones first came out, or when I was covering season 8, we had live streams of like 2,000 people, and then I decided to take a giant break. So now it's like, thank you everyone for coming in. Like it's great. But that's gonna be the interesting thing now, is like trying to get enough people in for House of the Dragon where we can actually have a conversation, because I can only talk on my own for so long. I need your guys' questions to keep me going. Which, by the way, this scene here, this made me really like Actually, there was a lot of things. So the Queen That Never Was, you have Otto Hightower whispering into Viserys' ear, saying that you could have, he's right now, he's like, you could have his ear for that, or his tongue for that. And he basically, King Viserys says, like, what does it matter? Like, da 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 da. It kind of shows his heart as a king. Like, he's not, like, he can be perceived weak, but he's also a guy with a good heart. So that was cool. And then also, I liked seeing Daemon, because I love the idea that he basically challenged Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King's son, and then he beat him, and then he asked for the favor of Otto Hightower's daughter. I thought that was pretty awesome. And also just the scenes in general, like the fact that they had Daemon like riding the rail of the scene, like it was awesome. Like you can tell there's money in this show. And just compare this tournament to Game of Thrones season 1. Like it was hugely different. Like they basically had like in the first Game of Thrones there's just some bleachers in a grass field. But this show has the money. This is what Game of Thrones would have been if they had money behind it, right? Oh no, is that what's gonna happen? Are they gonna try and watch in 10 years? They're gonna friggin' redo Game of Thrones. That would be interesting. Miss T says, what house will make a big impact besides the main two? So I guess the main two are Hightower and Targaryen. Most of it's Targaryen because it's a civil war. Hightower is very important. Valyrian is very important. That's Corlys Velaryon and the Queen That Ever Was, Rhaenys. They were runners-up to the throne. We saw that in the first episode. They're important. I think House Stark will be important for a fraction of the story. But I think those are going to be the main ones. I think second tier houses would be like Baratheon, Stark, like the ones who swore fealty to Renera at the end of this episode. Programmer says, when this series ends in the future, hopefully better written, do you think it would tie into Game of Thrones season 1? Well, it's 200 years in the past. In terms of this show, I think it will end well because like the writers have shown that they're great at writing dialogue and character interaction. They just need direction. Like they know how this story ends. They know all the main beats, so they know where it's going. They know what to focus on. So I'm not worried about the quality of the show at all. In terms of it tying into season 1, I think one of the best tie-ins we're going to get is at the end of this episode where King Viserys talked about Aegon's dream, Song of Ice and Fire. I thought that was really well done. It's really the beginning of the end of House Targaryen. They end up ruling for another, 150 years, whatever, 200 years. But they're never the same. The dragons get smaller. Their family line starts to change. They have some leaders that aren't great. I would see it less connected to Game of Thrones, and maybe it would set up the next spinoff. So, like, I could see them developing and greenlighting this Jon Snow spinoff, and the end of this, of kind of like the beginning of the end of House Targaryen. Like, this is called House of the Dragon. You're going to see it slowly start to collapse with their civil war, Dance of Dragons, and then it's going to kind of hint to the last Targaryen beyond the wall, and that's Jon Snow. But that's the thing, like, if you're going to do a story on Jon Snow, like, I think it's vital to Jon's character to have killed the Night King. That's all he had to do was kill the Night King, and they had him not do it, so I don't know how they're going to effectively do a spin-off if he didn't do that. Yeah, I don't know. Miss T says they're playing with ages in the show. Do you think it will matter? Yeah, they did. I noticed. What's it called? Like Renera is younger, I believe. But like even the king, like the king is what, like 45, 50 in this show? In the story, he's like 35. And I actually looked it up. Spoiler warning, mute for 10 seconds, okay? Mute for 10 seconds if you don't want spoilers. I'm going now. Alicent Hightower marries the king, okay? And they're only 10 years apart. In this series, they're like 20 years, 30 years apart. Like, it's a big age gap. So, yeah, I don't know. You can unmute now. Programmer says Game of Thrones could be rebooted after this series. I know it could. I hope they don't. I hope that they literally, like, the whole cast was fully grown at season 7 and 8. I think season 6 was a masterpiece. If they redo season 7 and 8, it would be a game changer. Instead of, Jon going north of the wall, you could even reuse some of the footage. Instead of Jon Snow going to the wall to capture a white, have him go to the wall because Bran sent him. Because the Night King is putting BS in Bran's head. There's a lot of things that they could do to kind of rewrite it. Miss T says, already got season 2 greenlit. Yeah, so that's great. Obviously, they really believe in the show. It was a great start, and it's only going to get better, I think. The thing that is interesting, the thing that I will say, I never mentioned this before, is this show is going to deal with timelines. If you notice the episode, there is bars on the screen. The dimensions are different. It comes in a bit. And I think the reason for that is because this is the past. I think as soon as we go to the present time of Renera when she's fully grown, those bars are going to remove. Ms. T asks, what other spinoffs might be done? So The Long Night was canceled, so we're not going to see that. Probably because there was no effective way to tell it, because we already know how it ends and how anticlimactic it was. But I think the Jon Snow spinoff is like gonna happen. They could do an Arya spinoff. I don't know. They could do anything with Arya because Arya's west of Westeros or east of Essos or whatever she's doing. So there is definitely a story there, a simple story, where it doesn't have to be about magic and this and that. It's just about a character, right? And that's in terms of stories in the future. Stories in the past, you could do... Geez, what could you do? Yeah, like The Long Night. You could do Robert's Rebellion. Robert's Rebellion, like it's already pretty vital to the original show, so I don't know why they would do that. Shrimp Salad says, what would even happen in the Jon Snow spinoff? I don't even know. I did a video about it, actually. You should check out my video about a Jon Snow spinoff. Because I think, so Jon Snow is a character. He's somebody who is he's a natural born leader by action, right? He's a character that is like integrity to a fault. So he's terrible at politics and political stuff. So I think it could be a story kind of like how when Benjen came down to the north to see the Ned Stark, and he had his visit, and then Ned was called down to King's Landing. I think there could be a political story where Sansa Stark, she's a political person who now owns the North, right? She is not one of the 7 kingdoms. She is the queen of the North. So she could be very well encroaching on the northern lands because the wall is no longer effective or the Night King is gone. Sansa might be expanding the North, past the wall. So then it's a political issue with him and his sister. He could be called. Jon could be called to see Bran and be given a task. Or you could deal with the politics of... Oh, this scene is weird. Let's skip that. he could deal with the politics of the wildlings. What is a truly free society? How do you have that society run effectively? Is he the leader of this society? You know, how they put his faith in him to defeat the Night King, but now the Night King's gone. What good is he? Is he a good leader? Does he deserve to be a leader? Right? So I think it will dive into that. I also had, like, you know, you could do another plot, like he's traveling north and Drogon comes. And Drogon has Daenerys' body. And then now you have Jon and Drogon. Maybe I don't think they would do this. This is so far-fetched, but it's a part of me that wishes it was true. Is like Drogon's there. Maybe you realize there are more White Walker children. And the Night King was just one facet of the story, and the myth isn't over, and that's a whole other thing. I don't think they're going to do that. But like I think there are ways that they could find a way to do a spinoff. I think Jon Snow would be more character driven, and it would be more political driven because he's not a political guy. So that's what I would guess. Miss T says, how to fix everything in GOT without messing everything good up. It's just a matter of how you rephrase the story. So, like, in Season 7, the climax was them going to capture a white to make peace with Cersei. It should have been Bran being communicated to by the Night King, and Bran thinking that something had to be found, like a Horn of Winter, or it could be whatever. But Bran saw something that he told Jon, you have to go to this mountain arrowhead to achieve this. And then you realize the Night King set it up all along. And the Night King set it up to get his dragon. And that fixes that plot line. In terms of the story, like, if they want, like, they should have reversed it. Like, the Night King should have been killed last, and Cersei should have been defeated first. So I would have them go down and defeat Cersei and then come north for the final defending of Winterfell. But since that didn't happen, you'd basically just have to restructure the fight, right? Have Bran do something that's actually useful. It's just how you shift what premise the story rests on. CL says, when do you think the time jump will occur? When will it occur? It could occur at the end of this episode coming up. Let me think about that. Hang on. Yeah, I think we could time jump at the end of the next episode. The only thing I don't know is I don't know if they're going to be jumping back and forth between timelines. I do hope they're chronological with it. So a part of me hopes that they stay with these characters, and then in like 3 episodes or whatever, they just switch to the next timeline. But yeah, I feel like there's a good likelihood I feel like they could switch next episode, but we'll see. Programmer says, Jon Snow spinoff better start off everything Season 7 and Season 8 being a dream, and we get the real ending to Game of Thrones. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's I just think from HBO's perspective, it's very hard to build a franchise on a faulty foundation. So that's my reason of it. It's like, I'm not just a fan saying that they need to redo, Season 8 or Season 7 of Game of Thrones. I'm saying that, like, you need to fix the foundation of this franchise so you can keep pumping out new spinoffs to make more money. Because right now, as it stands, Arya killing the Night King, it doesn't bode well for all of these spinoffs, right? Like the Jon Snow spinoff, right? Like, what did Jon Snow do in Season 8? Like, really nothing. Like, he killed Daenerys. But if Jon was a character that killed the Night King, saved the world, and killed Daenerys, and then it's a personal story about how a man comes to terms with, what he did, how significant he is, even though he's in an insignificant place, like, just a personal story, like, you could You could sell that. Richard Cheney says Nymeria and the Thousand Ships spinoff. Yeah, you could do that. It just depends how much people are interested. Because like Nymeria, like sure, it's been mentioned of like this Dornish queen, I guess, Nymeria, and Arya's dog, but like it doesn't really capitalize on the hype of the show. Like the House of the Dragon does so well because it is House Targaryen, and we became very familiar with House Targaryen in Game of Thrones. So, to be honest, that's how I see these spinoffs working. Is like if they want to do a Nymeria spinoff, this show, House of the Dragon, will show the Dornish a lot. We'll see a lot of Dorne. We'll establish Dornish culture. We'll establish all of these things. So when they launch a Nymeria spinoff, people have gotten educated and excited about Dorne from this show. You see what I mean? So they're going to use these shows strategically to promote other ones, just to kind of keep the ball rolling. Like Jon Snow. You know, if Jon Snow actually gets a spinoff, they're probably going to be lining up an Arya spinoff. It's just the way it goes. CL says, does Renera know what happened to her mother? At this point, I don't think so. To be honest, I don't think they're really going to touch on it. I think it's just going to be her mother died at childbirth. And I don't even think it's going to be anything that's going to build any form of resentment. Because at the end of the day, like, King Viserys did what he felt was right to save the child. So I think really that's it. This scene right here was really good. He said a cool quote, like, I don't want you guys feasting on the corpses. A bunch of crows feasting on the corpses of my dead family or something. That was good. Chaz says, Faceless Man story would be interesting. Yes, it would. That would be very cool. Yeah, I just keep that. For me, it's like any spinoff they do is cool. I just want them to... Any spinoff is a story within the Game of Thrones world. But like Game of Thrones as a story was the ending of... It was the true ending of the biggest story there was in all of the Game of Thrones franchise, right? It is the end of the White Walkers. So I just think you need to get that ending right. That's the thing that really bugs me about it. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, after this show, because this show is fire, right? It's Targaryen, it's House of the Dragon. I wouldn't be surprised if the Long Night, they end up greenlighting it again, and they find a direction for it, and they do a spinoff on ice, right? And then you have the ice spinoff, essentially. But yeah, that's what I think about that. But I'll take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to wrap up because I need to rest my voice and relax a bit before the next episode comes out. I'm excited. What time is it? 7:40. Not bad. I might change my streaming times too. Instead of Sunday, I might go back to like Thursday. Thursday sounds pretty good. We'll see how it goes. I'm a work in progress. But I'll give you guys another minute to put in anything you want to put in, and then I'm gonna wrap. But yeah, man. I hope that I'm actually gonna search Google to see if there has been any talk about like these seasons. Because like I would love nothing more for them to finish off season 7 and season 8. Shrimp Salad says, I really want a Faceless Man Assassin's Creed style open world video game. That'd be cool. Chad says, do you think George will ever finish The Winds of Winter? To be honest, I don't mean to be like dark, but like no. I don't. I don't think he's gonna finish his whole series. There's a lot, and I think he's overwhelmed because I think he calls himself a gardener. So as he writes, he kind of finds the story as he goes. Like his original pitch for Game of Thrones was very different than what the show ended up becoming. So I think like he has to wrap up all these loose ends, and I think he's kind of a perfectionist, and he wants to make sure it's done well, and yeah, I just think he'll always he'll write something and then recess and find another direction for a character, and it will be difficult for him to to finish that. Mo says episode names are published. Finale name: The Black Queen. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. The Black Queen. Yeah, so I have my thoughts on that. Should I spoil it? Okay, so what I'll say, put your camera on mute. I'll go like this when the spoilers are done. So mute right now if you don't want spoilers. Yeah, so I think the Black Queen is Queen Renera. It's going to probably be a time jump forward, so we'll be with her. And I think the Black Queen is Queen Renera when she decides that she is going to basically start recruiting to become queen. So I think I might as well throw this in there. King Viserys, I think, is going to die in episode 9 or episode 10. And then they're going to have the rush where Alicent Hightower is going to be immediately stopping communication with Dragonstone and trying to sit her own son on the throne before Queen Renera finds out. And the Black Queen, Queen Renera, because you have the blacks and the greens, she is essentially going to decide that she is going to take over the throne, her throne. So that makes her the Black Queen, right? And that would involve, like, season 2 would be her going to House Stark, going to House Baratheon, and we'll see that journey of her trying to get a force or get support, calling on the people who swore fealty to her. So we'll see how that goes. But spoilers over. You guys can come back on if you had it muted. But yeah, that's the overall direction I think that it will go. But with that being said, I think I'm going to end it there. That was a very nice stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm really excited to see what happens in this episode. I really want to see this next episode because I want to get a gauge on what the pace is of this season. I don't know if they're going to do a time jump. I don't know how long they're going to be holding on to these characters, but we will see. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Chaz. Thank you, Mo, Shrimp Salad, Programmer of Video Games, CL. Who else is here? Miss T, Zero. But yeah, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you all so much. But yeah, until next time or next stream, I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.